All right, everybody, welcome to Knox Makers. It's Tuesday. As tradition dictates, we like to show off projects we're working on or failed or succeeded. We like to see it all. We do have a list that people signed up as they came in, so we're going to get started on it. The first one is Kristen, who's going to show off scrap metal art.
Well, hi everyone. This is actually my first show and share that I've presented, but I took the scrap metal class with Joseph this past week, and I loved it. It was so great. I got to learn how to use quite a bit of stuff, and hopefully I'm showing this right. I ended up making something that was supposed to be a bird in the marsh flying away. And the parts that I loved the most about it were using the TIG welder, which was very fun. I got to learn some of the settings, heat settings for different materials, and the plasma cutter was so much fun. Yeah, right? Anyone who's used it is like, yes, let's burn holes and stuff. But it was really great. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else to it or not. It's pretty flat. How are you using it? Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything else. I'm thinking about adding other materials, and I'm not sure about any paint or not yet. I've never painted on metal before, and I'm not quite sure how the process would work. I do know there's a lot of dirt on here, so I imagine I'd have to sandblast it or something like that. So if anyone has suggestions, I would be more than happy to take it. And I did weld most of the pieces on there, but there are some pieces like this that I thought, one, it's a thinner metal, so I didn't want to melt it with the TIG welder. And two, I didn't actually need to weld it to connect it. There was plenty of space, so I could just wrap the wire around. And I kind of like that it has movement there because that's part of the wing, and wings move. So yeah, that's what I made.
How long did that take you?
The class was 4 hours, and the first hour was spent mostly on safety. Thank you for that. My eyes, thank you for that. So we spent the first hour on like safety, and then the next 3 hours I spent on this. It took me about somewhere between 2.5 and 3 hours. Yes. Yay. All right, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Narita, who's going to show shiny triangles.
Hey y'all, I started this project last year, and it's like we got some parts and pieces going, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna change the idea around, and then it was like, okay, well, we gotta wait for the building and all this other stuff. It's from my friend's school, but she asked me to help her make a art installation, and she had these pieces of like cellophane plastic that you wrap gifts with, and these like acrylic sheets. So we attached all the cellophane wraps to the plastic, cut them into different shapes. She wanted triangles, so we have several different colors, and she wanted them to hang. And we got the initial set up, and she's like, I want several different sizes on a string so that when it hangs up, it will reflect the light. And so we did that, and then it's like, okay, well, how are we gonna hang it up? So we tried using some wood pieces and tying it, and it's like, oh, that's kind of pretty, but not quite the look we were going for. So over here I have it. We ended up using an acrylic sheet. I got a big plastic acrylic sheet, and she had this see-through fabric that had some sequins already attached to it. Show that on here. The like once we had the triangles hanging, she's like, oh, I found this fabric. Can we attach the fabric? So I got some bias tape from Fiber Arts and I glued it around the edge of the acrylic board after I sanded the corners smooth because I didn't want it to be snagging on this fabric because this would just tear at the corners, especially over time. So rounding the corners, adding the bias tape gave me a surface that I could fold this over around the edges and glue it. And then on the bottom part, I added glue underneath a lot of the sequin areas so that it could be held up underneath here. And then of course, all of the other sparkles were requested after. So I'm almost done with it. The last step of this, besides like adding a little bit of glue on all the knots just to make sure it doesn't come apart, and just trimming any little loose strings, is hanging it up. Because it's going in a school, she's like, oh, we'll just hang it from the ceiling. And then the fire marshal said, nope, you will not. So the next thought is, you know, I could get a flagpole or something that's extended out and just have a way to hang it. So I have a few holes cut in the corners. And at one point I had it mounted with just some fishing line and a shower rod, just so I could easily move it around. But I'm almost done with it. So it's been a long work in progress, but I have a lot of the triangles pinned together or clipped together with binder clips, but I'll just hold it up real quick to show y'all one more time. So the idea is that when it hangs up in the classroom in the corner, it'll catch light for the sensory area for the kiddos. And it's really lightweight, so no risk of, you know, the triangles. I mean, if this falls on a kiddo, it's not that big of a deal. But, any questions?
Very cool. I remember when you first introduced it, it's grown quite a bit. So. I have a share. I don't know if you all are familiar or not. Maybe you've been under a rock, but we have a new fiber laser. And so I've been working on some of the settings of it. And I got some, we have these little blank steel coins in the laser store. And I got some really good settings on them one day. And then I came back the next day and those same settings weren't working. It turns out that it needed to be unfocused to get a good mark on those things. And so it's something I feel like we talk about a lot, but we haven't done. But what I made were what I'm calling decision coins. And so on one side it has one image and on the other side another image, and you can flip it to make a decision. So this coin, I don't know if it shows up or not. Can you see it? Let me zoom in. No? Maybe if I hold it up. So it's just a creepy smiley face. And then if you flip it over, it's a creepy mad face, so you can decide whether you're happy or mad. And so I made one more, and on one side is Isaac, and on the other side, of course, is my face. So I can decide between me and Isaac. So, all right. So that's it for me. Any questions? Except all the classes are sold out. All right. We have one more show tonight. Thank you. Thank you. We have one more show tonight from Isaac.
Did your coin decide that?
Yes, I flipped the coin.
So after all this success, I brought you a miserable failure. And it was, in a sense, the most spectacular failure because I failed not in one but two ways. And the whole time I thought I was succeeding. So that's kind of the worst. We've got this gaudy gold frame contest thing happening imminently, and I really wanted to make a hideous gold frame. And I remembered that you could get this laser cuttable material that is clear acrylic with a layer of gold on one side. And I thought that would be ideal for making something truly hideous. And so I bought some of this stuff, and I laser cutted it. And I found that it was really quite fiddly to work out the right settings to laser cut this stuff. What I was hoping to achieve here was something that was shiny and golden except for where it was clear. That's what I wanted. And what I found was that when you ablate the gold surface away, you don't wind up with something clear, but rather something that's quite frosted. And so John Dale was very patient with me, and he taught me about defocusing the laser, you know, and I messed around with it quite a bit, and finally got a test piece that I could read through. And so I thought, you know, that's pretty good. So you can see this is a fairly large thing, and I took a lot of the gold off, and that took a very long time. This is like an hour and 20-minute laser cut. And so I was the whole time thinking, yeah, this is gonna rock, this is gonna be amazing when I get this thing done. And what I eventually realized was that, yes, you can read something if it's sitting right on top of that thing, but that doesn't mean that it's clear by any means. In fact, it's still quite frosted, and so it really just doesn't work with my idea at all. Furthermore, and more painfully, what I learned is when you take this much plastic material off, it bows the material. The heat starts to curl it up. And boy, I really fought that thing. I tried heating it up and putting weight on it, you know, I submersed it in boiling water and all these different things, but it never lost that curve. And so it's terrible is what it is. It totally fails to be what it wants it to be. And I made 2 of these, so that was like, what, almost 3 hours of my life in utter failure. I do have another idea of how to accomplish my plan. The other question is, you know, am I going to get around to it? So I'll see Russell about that. I will hand this around so that you can curse at it and spit on it, because I'm not sure that I've done enough of that just yet. In summary, it's the laser's fault. Thank you.
All right, anybody else who didn't make the sign-up sheet that wants to show something off? Going once, twice? All right. We do have a few events coming up that aren't sold out. Tonight, directly after Show and Share, is a new member onboarding. If you have not had one of those before, it is a requirement for membership. It's good to come to either way. If you've never been to one, we talk a little bit about Knox Makers, what we are, why we do what we do, what your role as a member is, all the good things like that, and then you'll definitely want to be a member. This Thursday is Electronics Roundtable, which is an online class, or is it a class? It's more of a ask and get advice from people who know a lot about electronics, I believe. Does anyone have any more words to say about that? Not too familiar.
We've got a panel put together. Each person is going to provide some tips and tricks on working with Arduino, and after a brief presentation, then there'll be time for Q&A from the folks who attend. So I think pretty much any stage with Arduino that you're at, then there may be hopefully something there for you to learn.
Okay, so that's going to be online. We'll do it on the big blue button. You'll get a link to connect to sign up if you're interested.
And it's free.
And it's free. It's free. This Saturday is a Stitch and Bitch. That's the to get together that the Fiber Arts Zone does, where it's almost like a social event where they get together and work on things and so on. Sunday is heat press and sublimation class. There were still tickets left for that last I checked. If you're interested in the sublimation printer and the heat press tool, there are a few tickets left. That's it for this week on events. I just checked the filters on AC units. They seem like they're still good and don't need to be changed. But if you see any, we do have people who change a lot of the garbages, but if you see one that's full, please take it out. Lasers could be taken out if someone wants to be nice. It's full. If you are new here and have not had a tour or have any questions, you can come see me or someone with a red badge, or come to new member onboarding and learn about it. With that, we're just going to go play in the workshop. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it.